Okay, so what is this all about? Sweep accreditation training. We do it so that people who enter dragon boating have someone competent on the back of their boat to ensure that they have the benefits of having a trained sweep front. That's really all it's about. How does accreditation work? So here we are, we're having education. Just change my glasses. It's a pain in the ass. Reading glasses. Anyway, there's a written test tonight. We'll do a written test after this. 20 questions. Written test. You only have to get 18 right. And then
Are they short answer or essay questions? What are we talking about?
You'll be training with a trained sweep, or maybe you already have been training. Like some of you have. Which is great. There's a practical test, so that's taking place in 19th of November out at Lake Rua. We're going to do some testing out there, and that's basically just, can you keep a straight line? Can you turn left? Can you turn right, etc. Pretty straightforward. And then you race in 3 events, and you end up with your level 3 full accreditation, and you can do anything sweep-wise. The levels of accreditation, and importantly, what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. If you're a novice sweep, like you guys are, it means that you're in training, you haven't been tested yet. You can sweep the boat at training with adult crews only. You've got to be under direct supervision of a sweep. And direct supervision means that there's an accredited sweep in the boat with you who can take over if you lose confidence or if you run off course or something. So, and then once you've got some satisfactory sweeping skills, then you demonstrate a knowledge of the safety briefing and capsize procedure. That happens pretty quickly. Once you've done a few sessions of sweeping, you know the hazards around the area where you train, you become a level 1. There's no real sort of test for level 1 that, like people start at level 0 and they go to level 1 that nobody knows. And then when they do their theory test and the practical, they're level 2. But there's no kind of defining line for level 1. But they're still got to be mentored by a level sweep. Level 1s are restricted to training at regular training sessions. So you can't steer a boat at a regatta unless you get your level 2. You can sweep adult, school and or junior crews under supervision. And the person who's training you will decide whether that's direct supervision or indirect supervision. So direct means that they're in the boat with you. Indirect means that they're overseeing you from another crew maybe. Minimum age for a sweep for a school crew is 15 years. Adult crew, you've got to be 17 years. It's quite strange. Level 1 sweep, you do the written test and the practical test, and you end up with a level 2. Means you can sweep adult crews at club training sessions unsupervised. You can sweep adult and junior crews at regattas in conditions appropriate to the experience. Like last year's Nationals of Karapiro, the weather was shit. And there are big waves on the lake and not really ideal for a level 2 in those conditions. Not that you would have been at Nationals anyway. Groups would have a sweep mentor who is looking after their training, which is probably me at the moment. And then you demonstrate competency during 3 individual racing events. One of them's got to be a sanctioned event. So the only sanctioned event we have in the South Island is the South Island Champs. And then you've got to do 2 races in 20-man boats. Level 2 sweeps wear orange vests when they're out racing. And then to become a level 3, you're allowed to sweep adult crews during training sessions. You can sweep school and junior crews during training and at regattas. You can instruct. You're allowed to sweep during the hours of darkness. I wouldn't recommend it. And level 3 sweeps wear the fluoro green jacket in all the races that they're sweeping. So here's a couple of pictures. A novice sweep in an orange jacket and a qualified sweep in a fluoro green.
When it comes to national, you probably won't have to be wearing those because everyone's got to be level 3 anyway.
That's probably right.
But if you're a level 3 and you're at another regatta anyway, it's always good to know so that the novice sweeps can go, oh, he's a level 3. I'll look for advice from him. They see, I know what they're doing now.
And also, if you're wearing an orange vest, then all of the kind-hearted qualified sweeps will try and look after you. So the testing, written test, consists of 20 questions, which we'll do tonight. You've got to get 18 right. Practical test, yeah, not there. You can, I'll email you one and you can fill it in and send it back. And it's open book, by the way. If you've got the document, you can go through it and fill it in. You won't need to after this presentation. You'll know everything you need to know. You've got to steer the boat with a minimum of 16 paddlers. So it's got to be a standard boat, not a small boat. You've got to make sure that the boat is balanced because it's very difficult to steer otherwise. Perform a head count. You do the numbering off. It's pretty straightforward. Use the standard calls. Are you ready? Attention. Go. You need to be able to turn left and turn right and reverse the dragon boat safely. We'll cover all of these things tonight. Maintain a boat on a start line. Reversing dragon boat into a start pontoon and cornering around markers. Probably the trickiest thing is reversing onto the start pontoon. When most of the people that I've trained, a dragon boat's got a huge turning circle, right? So they come in too close and then they go past their mark, and then so you've got to be right over and then turn and then back into you. Testing. We've got, they have level 4 and level 5. You can do pretty much everything with level 3, but if you sweep internationally or you're able to sweep in a number of different types of dragon boats, you have one of the important things for this level is that you have a day skipper's certificate, which you can do through the Maritime New Zealand, is it? Yeah. Coast Guard, yeah. And then when you've been around for a while, like some of us old buggers, it can become a level 5. So you're level 4, you're confident in boat manoeuvring, crew management, demonstrated advanced ability, steered a boat at the international regatta, and got to have a day skipper certificate endorsed by the Coast Guard.
Are you a level 5, Rick?
Nope. I don't have a day. I don't have a day stick. The day. Yes, Stocks is level 5.
Is it?
Yeah. I haven't done a day skipper certificate, but I've swept at international regatta in China. The minimum age for junior cruise sweeps is 15 years, and the minimum age for adult cruise sweeps is 17 years. Yep, it kind of rings true. Sometimes school students, particularly in North Island, will sweep a school crew, but it's not common. Women's crews have to have a female sweep. Breast cancer crews must have a breast cancer sweep. You probably know all this already. Open crews can have a female or a male. And junior and under 23 crews can have a male or female. So a male can sweep a junior girls team. Senior crews must have a senior sweep. So that's your senior ages are 40 plus, 50 plus, and 60 plus. Basic safety procedures. As a sweep, you're in charge of the boat, right? You're responsible for the safety of the crew. So it's like being the captain of a, you know, I don't know, you're the skipper. You're in charge, and it's your responsibility to make sure that everybody is safe. No alcohol. Sweeps and paddlers at training or racing. You must stop drinking 12 hours before the first race of a regatta, which is understandable. And you need to assess whether the conditions are appropriate for you to go out sweeping, to take your boat out, you know. And you need to look ahead and see whether the weather's likely to change. We took a boat out at Pegasus one time, paddled up to the end of the lake, and then it was blowing like 40 bastards, and we couldn't get back, couldn't turn the boat around. So we parked it up, went to the pub, and then we brought the trolley back all the way around the lake and loaded it up and wheeled it across that bridge and back on. You got to know when to stop.
Look, just on that, Eric, we bought a few little handheld anemometers. So what we're going to do is work out some actual numbers of what feels about right for going out of.
All right.
I can't find anybody that actually will say it. But I'm thinking that we'll probably have kind of two levels, maybe a level 3 and a level 2. So, level 2 sweep, we wouldn't expect to go out more than 20 knots, and maybe 25 for a level 3 or something like that. But at the start of the season, I'm going to put them at some of the different venues so that we can go out there and have a play with them, and sweeps and go, well, I don't feel so good about this. What is that? Well, that's actually 28 knots, or it's 14 knots, or whatever it is. So we get a good understanding of what's going to be right for us, and then we can, like during the day, sometimes you get a bit excited towards a final, and you think, oh yeah, well, if we'll push on through this rough conditions, and you might say, well, it's actually, we've all said we've got a level that we're not going above, and how come we're still going out?
That's good. That's a good idea. So when you're loading up your boat, obviously decide where everyone's going to sit before you load the boat up, because it's difficult to shuffle people around. Although you might have to do that if the boat is not well balanced. And then this is a classic: wait till everyone's seated before you push the boat out. Right? I've seen so many times, and because I'm the sweep and I'm standing up, quite often they'll push the boat out, before everyone's sitting down, and you end up sitting down suddenly. Or you need to wear suitable footwear. You never know what's in the water around the boat, and of course you don't want to be like if you're wearing runners or something and we tip out, then they're heavy on your feet and you're more likely to pull you down. So something nice and light, like some boat shoes, is a good idea. Of course, you must wear life jackets. Who thinks they should go out without a life jacket? See, like 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, we were having big discussions about this. Crews were saying, I'm not wearing a life jacket and bloody. And then you go down to training sometimes, there'd be a crew out that didn't have one. Now it's just a given. Everybody abides by the rule. And it's... it
feels like putting a seatbelt on the car.
Yeah, it just makes really good sense. And, if you've got a partner in the crew, she'll remind you when you haven't got one on, which happens quite a bit. Always do the safety briefing. The safety briefing. If we do happen to fall out, just make sure your buddy is okay, and stay quiet, and then we'll number off. Number off before we go out. We'll talk about this a bit later. And know how many are in your boat if it's not full. So if you go out with a partially full boat, you've got to know whether you've got 15 or 16, so you know how many to look for. Right. So these are the hazards that you're likely to come across, and there's sheets in the book that we sent out after the sweeps and managers meeting. So on the Owls Terrace and the Avon, you've got the bridges to contend with. The ramp's quite slippery with that mat on the top, although it's great for the boats, not so good for paddlers. And there's lots of shallow patches, especially upriver in the low tide on the right-hand side, just past the bridge. And then you've got rowers and kayakers. And there's special rules for the Avon. Normally the maritime rules say you keep to the river right of the lane, coming down or coming back up. Sorry, not river right, you keep to the right. But there's special rules for Avon, which we'll discuss later. Kaipo River, there's a few hazards. The bridges, the low bridge just at the end of the boat ramp, on a high tide you can't stand up in the boat there, so you have to bend down or sit down, so you get under there. There's people jumping off the bridges in the summer, so you don't want to get one of those. And we carry a whistle, so when we're coming down to that bridge, we blow the whistle, and nobody's jumped on us yet. And the rowers are a problem because they finish their rowing and then they come up. They load at Kaipo just to the bit further upriver from our ramp, and there's usually 5 or 6 crews out, and they just stack up behind the, waiting to get their boat out. And we're trying to launch our dragon boat out of there, and it's just extremely tricky. That's good. There's lots of fishing lines. Someone actually threw a fishing line at our boat one time, hooked it on the back. You got jet skis. You've got people white baiting. When you go up the river from the school footbridge, from the Kaipo Borough School there, it's very shallow on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I had.
Yesterday, yeah. We thought one day oh, this is nice and wide. Well, there's some turns up here. Yeah. And we couldn't get it out. The first 5 rows had to get out, stand in mud about this big. And we're all back paddling and pushing off the sweep board.
Actually, so Owls Terrace is that if you ever head, you can go downstream as well and out onto the estuary.
Yeah.
And a high tide. And there's a main channel you go through. There's another one too that's sort of further east. If you get that on a really high tide, you can get around, but otherwise you end up doing the same thing. Up to your knees in mud, trying to push it out.
The Kaipo River runs into the Waimak, so you can go out, through the confluence, and then you can go up to Stewart's Gully. It's about 10k there and back, but we don't go out there anymore. Because it can change very quickly, and because it's so wide, you're a long way from the bank if you get run a bit off course. Rua, lots of underwater hazards. You've got 3. I don't know whether there's still cars in there, but you've got concrete blocks around the edge of the lake, and this is not current anymore. Don't load boats over the timber wall. We've got a beautiful ramp there now.
Just don't step too far.
Yeah, it does drop off at the end.
Suddenly.
Yeah, and
Close calls.
the water's very deep, obviously, and it's quite cold. So if you fall in there, you can, hypothermia is a risk in cold weather. And there's lots of swimmers and recreational users out there, and people drifting by on blow up ducks and stuff.
It's always a good idea when you're heading out there, is to do a bit of a scan, count the number of swimmers, count the number of little canoes and stuff like that. Can change, they get in and out, but they're quite good on that lake because the swimmers often have the little buoy that they so you can makes them easy to hit. And also, where we do the race starts.
Yeah.
stay away from the bit towards the left of that, because there are a lot of breeding ducks in there, the protected ducks and grebes and all sorts of things. So try not to scare them too much.
I've been down there on a Saturday once, and there would have been 1,500 people there.
Really?
It was unbelievable. Cars were parked miles away, and then, you know, people trying to park, they're going head to head trying to get in and get out, and it was a nightmare.
You're not sure what's going to happen with that rent for those people. They might go there and start doing bonds off or something like that. But what they're trying to do is actually they put in that little pontoon thing out in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
And the idea was to stop people climbing the trees and doing bonds off the side.
All right.
And they could be a bit of a hazard too, but like in you're going close to some of the edges, they'll be jumping off.
Yeah, the new ramp seems to attract people, fishing and having a chat. You know, there's a couple of guys there on Saturday just having a chat. Pegasus, we don't race there anymore. Unfortunately, the algal bloom has really ruled that out for us, isn't it? When you go back a few years, you know, we had boats up there and we trained up there, and then one year we got algal bloom at the middle of February probably. Next year it was beginning of January, then December, then November, and you just can't use it in the summer now, unfortunately. But if you do happen to go, watch out for the rocks. You can't go under the small walking bridge there, you know. Do you know Pegasus? There's a little walking bridge, yeah. I like to back off a boat, get through there, so I made a rule not to go under there. You've got everything happening there. You've got radio sailboats, and when it used to be clean. Did I miss one? No. Dunedin. You've got rough seas down there, and you've got shipping and other, pleasure craft down there, and there's seals. They had a seal on the dock one time that got a bit aggressive. I suppose you count that as a hazard, wouldn't you? So the life jacket policy sweeps the captain of the vessel. So therefore, responsible for all persons on board. And I think that we keep reiterating this, because if you're the sweep, you're in charge. You've got to make sure everybody wears a PFD, and if someone doesn't have one, got to go back and get one. And it's probably a bit irrelevant now, but repeated breaches by a sweep may result in their accreditation level being dropped. So, you know, if we find that there's a particular person who doesn't really care about whether people have life jackets in their boat or not, they can be busted from level 3 back to level 2 or whatever. So that's good. We're going to talk about the buddy system. Are you familiar with this? Yeah, okay. So sweep's responsible for ensuring the crew number's off, the number off from the front. The stroke on the left is number 1. So it goes caller, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. And then sweep. And then sweep needs to know how many are in the boat. So in case we do happen to capsize, then we know how many we're looking for. So the first pair, the strokes, look after the drummer, and the back pair look after the sweep. I might have to have a rethink about who's in the back seat.
Make sure someone else.
Have you got your favourites in the back?
Yeah.
Well, none in the back.
I had Bazza in the back seat, and he's 83. He takes about 10 minutes to get out of the bus. So I might actually, we'll have a think about it. Lovely guy. He's been paddling with us for ages. Okay, this is the drill. Keep to the right, move in an anti-clockwise direction if you're going around the lake, and around like a brewer. Give way to boats on your starboard side. So that's on your right-hand side. And if meeting another boat head on, alter course to starboard. So coming together, you both go to starboard and you pass port to port like that. Give way to ferries. We don't have ferries in that situation, but in Dorking they do. And rowers, supposed to give way to rowers. And use the outside third of the river or the channel. So you're not going up and down the middle all the time. You're trying to keep to the side to make sure that everybody has a space to pass. When it's low tide, particularly at Kaipo and probably on the Avon, the river gets very narrow. The navigable part of it does. And you can, you turn your boat around, you suddenly find you're in a foot of water and nobody can get a paddle in. So now we're going to go giving way. You must give way to another boat on your starboard. So here you are, this is us, the white boat, comes the black boat, and they're coming on our right-hand side, on our starboard side. We must give way and go behind them, okay? And if we're coming head to head, then we both go to the right, and then we pass port to port. You got it?
Yeah.
Can I have a practice?
No.
No.
Get them out in the hall and run towards each other.
Hey?
No.
Get them out in the hall and running towards each other.
Yeah. We've done it before. But. Water safety, loading and unloading is when you're most likely to tip out. You all right? You need to be, when you're loading from the beach, back of the boat's in the water, 2 people hold the front of the boat steady. Usually do that by sitting on it. And then paddlers load from the front, walk down to their seat, sit in the middle. So you sweep in first, then row 10, then row 9, and you don't push the boat back until everyone is seated. Cool.
I had an interesting doing that once. Had everybody in the boat, and the front started climbing out and getting out. And I was actually on the shore, sort of holding the boat or something, and the sweep in the back went to the scruff, yelled at me, no, could you, forget it. Because what had happened is we got the heavy guys off the front had come off, and there were still some heavy guys in the back, and the whole back had just sunk into the water.
Oh, really?
And just swamped over with water like that. That was the Crusaders.
Oh, really?
Around paddling with us. So all of the front row was in the back seat, I think. So these things.
They were big, strong boys, those. Water safety. When loading from a pontoon or a jetty, you can clarify this for me.
Yeah.
Drummer gets in first, and then you put the rows in the middle of the boat, because that's the lowest point. And then you load, each paddler loads into the middle of the seat. That's what that means, the middle of the boat. It means the middle of the seat. And then as their partner comes, they move to one side or the other so that it's nicely balanced. And should have your paddles flat on the water to stabilise the boat. So that should be pretty straightforward.
I'm not really sure about that first one.
No.
Because, getting into the middle of the boat's fine, like on a pontoon, but then you go further and further out, and the boat curves, and you've got a gap to sort of step over for seat 1 and seat 10. So, it seems to me that if you, if you all started from seat 1, you'd have the whole boat going up like that first. But you can kind of just pull it around a little bit so that you've got no step, and it's right up against the pontoon step, pull it around a little bit more step, and nobody's stepping over a big bit of water. Well, the only thing really is that how far it goes like that.
Yeah. You always load off the pontoon at Alice Terrace, don't you?
What's that?
You always load off the pontoon at Alice?
Yeah.
No. I load off the ramp usually.
I do?
Yeah, because the boat's sitting on the rudder.
Right.
Yeah. Be way easier.
Well, he's allowed to do it. He's the boss.
Yeah.
I didn't think, what are you saying, that we're not allowed to?
Well, we would have sort of stopped on the boats or something.
That's right.
It can get very shallow at the end of the ramp there, can't it? Okay, let's talk about capsize. If the boat tips out, my recommendation is to sweep, inflate your life jacket, whether you're drowning or not, because you're responsible for the rest of the crew. You know, at least if you got your life jacket, you're floating above the water and you can organise stuff, you know. If you sink, it's much more difficult to get everyone organised. So I would suggest, it's not compulsory, it's not written in the rules anywhere, but I think it's a great idea. And then you organise your crew to calm down, everyone accounts for their buddy, and then if anyone's missing, you can send someone underneath the boat, because sometimes some people will get trapped under the boat. You know? I mean, there's air pocket under the boat, so you're safe enough, you can breathe under there, but your buddy won't find you under there. So then we number off again in the same order that we numbered off when we loaded the boat, right? Because I know when WIMAC tipped out at the Nationals earlier this year, and I wasn't there because I had COVID, but when they went to number off, they just started from the person near the front of the boat. And then, you know, there was no order to the numbering off. And I think you need to go back to numbering off from the numbers that you had when we loaded the boat. Stay with the boat. And then you can roll the boat back up into the upturned position if you do it really carefully, because it can spin, you know, and then could clunk someone on the head. So got to do that really carefully. If someone's injured or distressed, they can be placed in the upturned boat. Wait for the rescue boats to arrive if it's a regatta, and then sweeps last out of the water. That's why it's good to have your life jacket on and inflated. So in a situation where there's no rescue boat, the whole crew could attempt to swim the boat to shore. Shouldn't leave the boat. But as a last resort, the crew could leave the dragon boat and swim to the shore in pairs. We had one guy in the capsize once, he was buggered. He said, I'm buggered this, you know, I've had enough of this. He started to swim off. I had to call him back. We've got impatient people in our crew. So anyway, it's each training selection and location, there should be a first aid kit. You got first aid kits?
There is a small one.
Yeah, we've got one. Emergency blankets in case of hypothermia. We always carry a phone on our boat. Do you carry a phone?
We need to be very fast on that.
At what point do you say, no, I'm leaving the boat?
Yeah.
And that's not safe.
Isn't it's already tipped over?
Yeah, it's tipped over, there's no rescue boats.
No.
I'll take it back to shore, but at what point do you go, no, too high?
I'd say if you if the boat was being blown away from shore by the wind, or it was in a current, you know, being taken out to across the bar, then you would say, bugger this, I'm leaving it and just swim in. It would be unusual. It's unusual to tip out, to be honest.
But if you like tipped out nails, but you're way up, nowhere near the compound.
Yeah.
And you somehow, everyone was good, and the boat's in the middle of the water,
Yeah.
and you try and tip it, but it's full of water.
Yeah.
Like you just leave the boat and then just walk back to ours. Like that's quite a distance.
Yeah. You could. You could.
If you've got a phone.
You could get it to the side, you could empty it. But it's, you just start with it upside down, you put one end on the shore and you get everyone to lift the other
Yeah,
end.
but I'm just like guessing, like I guess like your priority is obviously the crew, right?
Yes,
You've
that's
got
right.
people that are like injured, distressed, cold. Like, do you just make the decision as the sweep to go, I'm leaving the boat here,
Right.
and then go back to the compound, and then what do you just call?
Just
No one say,
call
hey, the
Noel.
boat's way up and NZ
We'll have to go and get it.
Like, yeah, like I mean that's like It's a pretty serious, like, it's a pretty standard question that kind of like, I know it's not gonna happen,
Right.
but we didn't know there was gonna be an earthquake or a pandemic, so it's kind of like, if you're in that moment and you're the one in charge of the boat, what do you actually do? Like, do you just leave the boat
Just
here?
leave it. And then,
And
Yeah,
you
I mean,
just,
if it comes to a person's safety versus the cost of the boat. versus
and then what, do we just call you and say, hey, the boat's there, like?
We'll sort that out, it won't go too far.
a cool Pete Mitchell is good.
Okay, no, that was just, yeah, I'm just checking things, you know.
Yeah.
Don't feel obliged to do that. Likewise, even with your panels, they're expendable as well, but people aren't.
Yeah.
So hard to recruit for that.
What do we do if there is an earthquake and we're on the boat?
Probably won't-
Surf the wave.
Surf the wave.
Probably
Finale?
the best place to be.
Once the boat's at the water's edge, count for all the paddlers, number off, deal with any injuries, bail the boat in the water if you can, and then drag it out full of water, could break the hull. You don't want to be doing that. It's going to take you 6 months to bail it out too, with the little scoop. It's possible to turn the boat upside down and lift it clear of the water if you've got enough paddlers and you've got sure footing, which is unlikely. Remember, sweeps, you're in charge. Do your thing. Members of the crew must be able to sweep 50 metres in paddling clothes, but as a minimum, they must be water competent in cold and moving water. Iraqi regulations require all paddlers to look at PFD. We know that. At no time should you be under the influence of alcohol or any of your crew. And that's quite interesting because after the South Island champs, next day, I think it's the next day, they're having trials, or they're having a training camp for the regional groups, rep teams. Yeah.
Oh.
So it could be a dull, it could be a really.
That's what you want.
You're short on.
So you've got to watch for that. Like historically, we used to have schools the day after, the day after adult cruise, and then if you won a medal on a Saturday, you want to celebrate, you got to stop drinking at like 8 o'clock. They shouldn't organise them one after the other.
Start as soon as you finish your last one.
Yeah.
Take the esky.
I thought esky was an Australian word.
Oh, I don't know, esky. What do you call it? Chili
Chili
bun. Chili bun. Ice box. Someone told me ice box. I was
Yeah.
like, what's an ice
No,
box?
that's different. That's American. What skill requirements do you need to be a sweep? You have to know how to balance the dragon boat. Is that right? Yep. A well-balanced boat's easy to steer and it's easier to paddle, especially front to back, and obviously side to side. If you're heavy one side, it can be really awkward. And it's not very good for your paddlers either, because they either have to reach too far or they're cramped up too far, and they get injuries. So load the boat up, check that it's well balanced, lift your paddles in the air to check the balance. So try and load the boat so you've got similar weight of people, seat by seat. It's easy to do it that way. Heavier paddlers obviously should be seated in the middle because that's lower in the water, and the smaller people at each end of the boat because they fit. The newer boats, I reckon, are narrower than. Maybe they just stretch over time.
The other thing about doing the lighter front and back is it makes it more maneuverable. If you've got a lot of weight, you've got front and back, then you get into a momentum of a certain direction.
Yeah, good point. So this is the fun bit, trying to balance your boat. You can swap paddlers from side to side, but a lot of people can only paddle on one side and they're really uncoordinated on the other. It's been quite fun because this season we've been swapping the last 15 minutes and make everybody swap sides. And the first day was just a nightmare. But they're getting better. There's still a couple of guys who really haven't connected on their wrong side. But so if you can't solve the problem by swapping paddlers from side to side, you can do it by moving people forward and backwards in the boat, right? So you can see in the middle here, the boat is wider. So this guy's going to have more influence on leaning the boat that way than someone sitting up here because they're closer to the centre of the boat, centre line of the boat. See? So if you've got heavy paddlers on this side, you can move them back maybe and bring a lighter paddle up. That will make a difference. And it's quite surprising. It does make a difference. And if you've got a heavy person back here, you can bring them up to here, put that person back, and then that could work too. Here's a little picture to demonstrate the principle. Here's Flossie, who's a bit heavier than Bruce down here. And see when she's close to the middle of the boat, she balances his weight out there when he's further away. So it's like that fulcrum thing. Mesh one, mesh two. Reversing, this is the fun bit. Have the boat pointing where you want to go. So if you're going to reverse and you want to go to position A, then make sure you turn the boat around so it's heading directly for that, because you can't really steer it when it's going backwards. So get the boat where you want to go. You go paddles behind, go, and the way they go. Don't leave a sweep oar in the water, because what happens is you can get caught and go under the boat, and it can break the sweep oar. Or if you're holding onto it, they can throw you out, or you can break the rollock on the back of the boat, which has happened before. Always look behind to make sure there's no boats behind you. So if you do want to steer, you can do a little bit of a light top of the water, just sort of a paddle to keep it straight, but make sure it doesn't go under. And go slow, nice and slow, nice and slow. Here we go. Which computer am I working on? Stopping. It's easy to go, if you want to stop the boat, you just say stop the boat, or break the boat, or followed by paddles flat, or stable. We use stable. What do you use? Stable. Or if you look like you're going to run into something, you go stop the boat and then back paddle. Or if you're going out of your lane, stop if you're going out of your lane during a race. And if you really want to stop, you can go stop, or break hard, or take the run off. Well, take the run off means once you've braked and you want to let the boat go forward a little bit, then you just say let it run, or take the run off to if it's running forward just a little bit, you say take the run off and I'll just brake to stabilise the boat. If you're going to race at a regatta, and it might be a while before you do this, but you just never know, some of you will be quick learners, register with the sweep coordinator half an hour before the rest day of the race. So that's me. I need to know who's there on the day trying to get accredited towards level 3, right? So and I've got a lot going on with my own crew, and I won't know whether you've done races or not. So then I need you to come and see me and say, hey Rick, I'm going to race today. I'm doing one in the 500s and one in the 250s, but they won't let me in the 2K. So then we'll know. And I'm going to put some forms together so you can record those and bring them to me at the end of the day. Go to the sweep briefing, check the race rules, which you should know anyway. Stay in your lane, basically. Go quickly to the start line. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but don't fluff around doing race starts on the way down, and have two rows paddling at a time, and just go straight down there. Get ready to get into position. Position yourself well. If it's a bit windy, stay way back. Give yourself plenty of room. When coming to the start line, go well back, come up slowly together, allow for the wind, because it does drift you to the side very quickly. Come in from the windward side, drift down to your lane. Makes it a lot easier to go in straight if you do that. Because especially if you're first on the line, I nailed it, man, right in the middle. Next minute, everyone else is still coming in, and you're 2 lanes across. So keep right to the edge of the lane on the windward side. So if the wind's coming from your left, line up on the left-hand side so you drift back into the middle. Makes good sense. And you only need to be there for a few seconds before we start. So ideally, everyone should sort of start back from the line together, come up together in line, and then away. But it rarely happens like that.
We could probably look at the colour of this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we don't have rope start anymore. We used to have a rope across the river or across the lake, and the drummer would hold the rope, and then everybody would be lined up, and then you'd go, and then the sweep would duck under the rope.
Or get the rock.
Yeah. That's funny.
Where they don't do that anymore.
We used to remember we used to do that, all those setups at Lake Pegasus, you know. Oh, geez.
I saw on Facebook the other day, actually, with the, the little boy that they were holding on. That was
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And, on the start, they threw it away and off they went. That's kind of unusual. Another one that's I've only seen it done once is in Darling Harbour. They start from under a bridge and they have a rope that comes down from the bridge. Everybody holds on to the puller holds on to the bridge, but it must swing around.
Yeah. And the sweeper would be going backwards and forwards trying to get there. So if you're racing at a regatta, you want to go in a straight line. So just pick a spot to aim for, So the tendency is to watch your paddlers or to look at the people here and there on each side of you. But pick a spot at the end of your lane. Just keep aiming for that, And just make smaller. We were doing this at training on Saturday. There's 2 poplars there. Just kick a goal, And then my sweep was going straight for that spot. So if you have a problem at the start line, you're not ready, or you're having a problem, when the starter says, "Are you ready?" it's the drummer who has to raise their hand, right? But not before, not after, although before gives you a bit of security. When they go, "Are you ready?" drummer raises their hand. And brace yourself for the surge at the start of the race. I swept for Shirley Boys one time. I don't know how I got on the back of their boat. Shit, they took off like you wouldn't believe. And I did nearly fall off the back. And new sweeps have been known to fall off the back of the boat.
Why does the drummer raise their hand?
Why doesn't?
Why do they? Like, if
Oh.
they.
Visual problem?
Yeah, so the starter will be looking down at the drummers, only crossing the drummers. He can't be standing front and back.
True.
You'll miss it. You'll go, "Are you ready?" And you look down there, no hands up. Okay.
Keep your crew calm and balanced. Once the race is finished, like if you win, which hasn't really happened yet, but crews can go berserk, and everybody's jumping up and waving around. You've got to stay calm. And you've got to finish with the same number of people you started with. So if someone falls off, like if a sweep falls off, for example, and you cross the line, doesn't count. Doesn't count. Yeah, it does say they don't have to be. It doesn't say they've got to be from the same crew. But.
So that when you go across the finish line too, get a feel for the bow wave that comes through. So, you probably won't see it so much in training unless you've got a couple of blokes out there doing it. But there'll be quite a bit of trot coming through. So if you come straight across the line and then turn sideways, you're going to hit the wrong line.
Yeah. And if you turn sideways, you're probably in someone else's lane.
Yeah.
And
wait for everybody else might be still coming through. So.
Paddlers. Let's talk about paddlers. Paddlers have to be a minimum of 12 years old. And individual crews have different rules. We don't allow 12-year-olds in our crew. But for NZDBA, if you're 12 years old, you can paddle in the crew. Must be able to swim 50 metres in paddling clothes. Always wear shorts. You don't wear jeans in a boat. I'm telling you stuff that's pretty obvious here. In the winter, you need to dress appropriately to stay warm. And the sweeps need a windproof jacket because it can be, even, you know, in spring, like we were out training last night, it was cold. By the time we finished, it was pretty cold. And wetsuit booties are good.
Or
Or,
you get under the life jacket, by the way. Don't put it over the life jacket.
Mm.
It won't help you on the way down to the bottom of the lake.
No, that's right. If you want some good booties, you know, to wear, go to one of the kayak shops and get them. You know, they have some really good stuff there with nice, reasonably thick soles, so that when you're walking up and down on the shingle, you know, you've got a bit of covering for your little feet. So here are the calls, the standard calls. Excuse me. Are you ready?
Yep.
Attention.
All right.
Go. So that's the standard start, and you should always use that at practice. That's what you'll hear at the regatta. So always use that so your crew gets used to it. And then you can use the back 3 or 4 rows, or the back or the front 2 or 3 rows. So only those people that are named steer the boat. And this is quite good for bringing the boat up to the start line, for example. Instead of getting the whole crew going, just go, okay, you're back, you know, back 2 rows, take a stroke, another one, hold there. You know, you can make very small adjustments just using 2 rows or 3 rows. And then to, at the start, if you want to bring the front of the boat around, you can draw. Do you understand draw? You drive down, you drive your water under the boat, and it brings the front of the boat around. You can do that left to right, obviously, front or back. And if you want to do a big turn, you draw left on the front and draw right on the back. Spin around like this. And then,
Bit of a trick too, Rick.
Yeah.
I always get, if I've got drawing left or right, I always get the back seat or two to back pedal.
Yeah.
Because invariably when you draw, you tend to pull the boat forward.
Yeah, that's
so you
true.
Find you drift, like especially if you're out there holding on to it and drawing, you get pulled off it. So back 2 seats back pedal.
that's a good point. I'll do that. Number off, obviously. Got a number off before you. Hold water means that you have your blades in the water to stop the boat from drifting. Particularly good on windy days. Doesn't really help with the current because the current will take you where it wants you to go. Yeah. So let it run means you take your paddles out of the water, let the boat glide. Paddles behind, get ready to back paddle. Paddles flat or stable, just out like this. And then rest or relax, obviously. I just say you can tap quietly amongst yourselves. Not everybody allows talking in the boat, but we do. Break the boat, and then as you were means if I've said, are you ready? And I don't actually want to go, I'll go, oh, as you were, just go back to talking again. And it's important that you have a commanding voice and make yourself heard. And your instructions should be snappy and clear. Let them know who's in charge.
With that command hold water,
Yeah.
is that to stop you going forward and back? Or from sideways?
Or you can do both. I'll show you the slide in a minute. We have a slide for that. So this is what I was talking about, drifting in. Excuse me, ladies, could you listen up, please? If you've got the wind blowing here, then you sit back behind the line, facing into the wind, right? So that you're producing the lowest profile to the wind. And then as you get called in, you come around, you go into the windward side of your lane, you drift across to the middle before the rain starts. So that's a good tip. And then once you're in, you know, as we say, you want to be on in this case, the left-hand side of your lane. The wind's blowing across, it'll take you across to the middle or across to the other side before they start the race, which is cool. This is the interesting bit. Backing into the pontoon, okay? So that boat is around the wrong way.
Isn't
Yeah.
That's dirty, Paul.
Sorry. Just as you come around, give yourself plenty of room. Nice big arc. Come around till you're lined up with your lane, and then back in. You can come in here if you like, and then just spin the boat around by drawing left and drawing right until you're back in. And it gets really tricky if there's wind blowing. But I think the most critical thing for, when you're doing your grade 2, your level 2, make sure you give yourself enough room. The number of times I've seen where we've been doing assessments and the sweep will go, oh, coming around. Oh, okay. So practice that before your assessment. So if you want to stop the boat from drifting, if it's drifting forwards or backwards, paddlers put their blades in this way and it stops the boat drifting forwards or back. And you can do that sideways as well. So if the boat's drifting sideways, everybody puts their blade in down the side and that'll stop you going side to side.
Is there a call to clarify which one it is?
Nah, you just go, put your blades in down the side of the boat.
I've always heard hold water is
Yeah.
forwards or backwards,
Yeah.
hold for drift is sideways.
I use hold, but I don't often use the other way, the whole forward and backwards. I tend to just have the one command, hold.
Oh, I'm learning stuff. So sometimes, and it's not likely here, but a lot of the dragon boat crews up north, they paddle in the ocean, in the sea. And they may be in shipping lanes and all kinds of strange places. So they need to know the basic maritime boating rules. So these are part of the accreditation information that you need to know. So channel markers, a red marker will be on port, and a green marker will be a starboard marker, will be on your right. So when you're coming into a harbour, or heading inland from an entrance point, you have a red marker on your left and a green marker on your right, okay? That's right. Green to starboard, red to port. Red is the same colour as port. Port is the same colour as red. Port you drink, I mean. And I don't know, this would have to be chartreuse or I don't know. And if you're going out of the harbour, of course, you're on the other side. You've got the red marker on your starboard side. It's really important that you remember this for the next 20 minutes at least. And then, so you're coming out of the harbour, you've got red on your right, green on your left, okay? That's cool. Oh, here's an example. This is the entrance to the harbour. This is the harbour. It's a small harbour. And we're coming in here. We've got green on our starboard side. And then coming out again, we've got port on there. So we've got red on the port side. Keep to the right in the channel. So here's some basic maritime water danger markers. These are called cardinal marks, and they indicate which is the safe side on which to pass a danger. So if there's, say, a rock or a submerged reef or something, and there's a cardinal marker, if this one with the black on the top, the yellow underneath, it tells you that it's safe to pass on the north side of the marker. And this one, the reverse one, is safe to paddle on the south side of the marker. This one is for to go to the east side, and this is to go to the west side. You probably don't need to know that unless you go and paddle in Dunedin or in the up in Auckland. This one's probably more likely that you come across isolated danger. So maybe there's a submerged rock or there's a shipwreck or something. Tells you not to pass too close. So it's black with a red band. And if this is a light, then it will have a red light. and 2 white flashes on the top if it's in the dark. Look out. And this is a special area indicator marker. So it's an area that you should be aware of. There's one, I think the only one I know of is in the harbour. It's called the shit stick. And it's, I think there's a sewage outlet there or something. It's got a yellow marker. The Waka paddlers know where that is. This one's probably the one you most want to know about, and it's most likely to come across. Oh, 2K. This is where the fun starts. I love 2K racing. It's the best. All right, sorry, got carried away there. This is the course. A bit hard to see, but we start down here at the start line and travel down. It's 500 metres from end to end, so you come down about 450. There's a flag, red flag, 50 metres from the end. Do a turn, do another turn, and then you finish back where you start. Talk about the details of that. So on the start line, the new way of starting the race is to start 20 metres back. When you get the signal, you race up to the start line, and your time starts when you cross the line. So you get a running start, which is cool because you can go across the line, 14 kilometres an hour or 15 if you're really good. So we go in pairs, because if you go one behind the other, then you're not going to start 15 seconds apart like you're supposed to, because the guys in the back won't be able to keep up. So we go, one goes, 15 seconds later, 2 goes. In the meantime, 3's moved up into this spot here, right? Then as each one goes from each line, the next guy moves up. So you're going off and then you're shuttling. And there's a timing recording that we use that has beeps, gives you a 5-second warning, and then away you go. This is it. There's a 25-second warning for the first boat. So it goes, starts 15 seconds, and then when it gets to 10, it tells you there's a 10-second warning, and then the starter goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and away you go. Go on the long beep. Second boat gets 10-second warning, then away they go again. I'll play it to you. We got sound?
I'm quite sure with the sound.
15-second warning starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you've got 15 seconds, and then you'll get a 10-second warning. 10. 10-1, start in 5, 4, 3. Away, go! Yep, that's how it works. It's a good idea to come to attention probably before the 5 seconds, because it can get a bit panicky when you start to hear those first beeps.
Very truthful.
Let's talk about clear water between boats. So boats must not come within 2 metres of each other. So in a 2K race, you have to keep your distance. You've got to be 2 metres between the paddles. And that's not that easy sometimes, especially if you're overtaking on the inside and they haven't left you enough clear water. You can get a bit closer than that. But that's the rule. You can see this 2 metres around the boat here. This guy's got his own bubble and move with chalet cross. So it's front and back as well, so you can't come creeping into this space up behind the boat either. Which sometimes you need to give them a little nudge, but it's not in the rules. And then the rule used to be you have 6 metres of clear water between the line of the boys and the boat, and that's changed. you have to be far enough away so that if a boat's overtaking you, then you can be 2 meters. You can, you know what I mean. You've got to give them clear water so that they've got room between the boys and your boat for them to have 2 meter spacing. So there's rules about overtaking on the turns. Normally overtaking is done between the boat and the boys. So you overtake on the left, right? And you'll have rights. If you're overtaking on the right, you don't have any rights. Keep that in mind. So before a turn, this is the 50 metre flag before the turn starts. If the nose of the boat is in front of the sweep oar of the leading boat, then the trailing boat has right of way. It's red, so it's probably why, mate. And if you don't have overlap, then you have no rights, and you have to make way for. You have to allow the boat in front to take whatever course they like. So if there's two boats, if the red boat did have overlap and they've gone ahead, then they need to maintain a 2 metre separation, maintain 2 metres around the corner. So you can still keep going around the outside while that other boat is coming. And you'll incur a time penalty if you impede another boat. Or if red boat goes a bit out of control and causes blue boat to go offline, then red boat can be penalised. If this boat forces red boat inside the course and they skip a couple of buoys, then they could be penalised too if red boats protest. Right? So, interesting, just sort of looking back to the Nationals beginning of the year, our boat was out here and one boat had a right of way, so they let them go, and then another 3 boats came in on the inside. They didn't actually have rights, in my opinion, but I'm not a judge. And we ended up five boats wide, and then we sunk.
Who didn't have rights, sorry?
Well, I'm thinking, right? So the red boat had right of way,
Because
right?
their tail.
because they
forward,
overlapped at the 50 metre mark.
Oh,
Just touch screen or something.
Probably unplug and plug it out.
sorry. Then you guys should swap it back in, but other boats.
Yes,
Then
but they were right nose to tail.
that's tricky.
They're all coming up in a long snake. And we dropped about in 6 places.
It just is what it is.
Suck it up.
Yeah.
And you could run into them if you wanted to. Right? Or you protest. And in fact, I think the umpires had a lot to do in that race, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it is. A lot of reviews, a lot of videos played back and forward.
Yeah, but it was 20 minutes after the event. You've got a little button here that shows projector.
I think they allow us to even turn those things on and off. It's going to sleep. It should wake it up once I plug on
On that one.
it. No, it's,
There'll be a short delay.
it's probably just plug it into yours. Maybe use yours.
It won't be on the drive. It'll be on the.
A lot of it will make sense.
We'll still get there.
Oh, the Zoom thing. We can go through there.
That's all right.
So See a remote somewhere? Is there a TV remote on the?
Like that's what system doing. There's a remote there.
Don't touch it.
Okay.
Is there a remote as well? That red
Yeah,
remote?
pass.
That's a mouse.
Or a mouse, whatever. Remote. Remove the cursor.
It doesn't matter what we do.
Something's happened with this knob because I haven't got my display
Just
set.
minimize the PowerPoint presentation sort of stuff. If you look down the bottom, Rick, the PowerPoint's still sitting there, just so I've got to open it up again.
Oh, it's still going on your Zoom, is it?
Yeah, Zoom's all good. I can see your Windows screen. You just need to open up the PowerPoint again, but obviously on your end, you just need to connect it back to the screen.
We've got it on our laptop. We just haven't got it on the big screen here. That's all.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah, we'll try to put that back into.
It wasn't just because I touched the screen, I'm sure.
yeah. Just do whatever you do it again.
Don't know.
That's the sharing on the sharing with the Zoom, I think. So that's.
Nope.
Zoom connection's good.
We're going to have an audio
Yeah,
presentation, not an audio visual presentation.
Just so good with the lefts and the rights and the turning and which one is best.
We have the test now.
You're going to show
Well-
the video again? The one you showed last time.
What's that?
There's my phone.
We could go for a little walk to another meeting room.
It's okay. There's only 9 slides to go.
Okay.
We could join the Zoom call on the
Can we
link.
put,
Well, it's a matter of getting it onto the screen. That's the problem.
can we put it on this screen? How do we get there?
The one that's on the Zoom, can you see the slides still?
Yeah, you can.
So should we all join ourselves to the Zoom so we can see the slides?
We could do that. We could maybe show this.
It's on my office.
Well, we could just walk across to another meeting room and plug in there.
Why do you have to touch the screen?
Yeah, why did you have to touch the screen? Not sure if it was touching the screen that caused it. I will keep sharing that. Sharing it to the Zoom. This here should be our presentation.
Oh,
I don't understand why I can't get it to go large on my screen.
Oh, that's the end.
Because I could just put my screen there and make it have a look.
Right. Yeah, likewise, this one we could move this one up the other end.
Yeah, do that.
So which screen, which slide are you up to?
50. That one. That one.
That one? Okay. All right, so we'll, how about we put these in the middle? We'll put these so everyone can see it. And we'll just right up here. And Rick will get one there that everyone can see. Some presentation mode. Is it visible?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, you need to share it my end, mate. All I got is your Windows screen background.
I think the laptop just made noise.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
called twice.
it was interesting. I think
Oh, yeah,
it's the
that's-
other
that's
day.
fine.
That's on there.
You can't see it.
Can you still see it, Scotty?
No, I've got your Windows background screen.
Oh,
So I just need to share it my end.
Unable to see it.
It popped up and then went back down, so I don't know if it went to the wrong.
Here's one here. Here's one I prepared earlier. You guys got the screen down?
Now I've just got you. Damn.
Okay, where's the Zoom? Oh, there we go. Share screen. And I can see that, Scott.
Yeah, that's the one, mate. And you're on the right slide as well.
Okay, so here we are. Once the turn started, boat's got to maintain 2 metres separation. Can you see that? And you must not go inside the buoys on the turn.
Someone take the, on that one, the right arrow maybe?
That one?
A penalty will be given in accordance with the following schedule. Missing 1 buoy, 5 seconds. Missing 2 buoys, an additional 10 seconds. So if you miss 2 buoys, you're 15-second penalised, pretty much out of the race. If you miss 3 buoys, you get an additional 15 seconds. So 30 seconds total penalty. Miss 4 buoys, it's cut across the corner. Don't worry about the buoys. You get disqualified. Actually did that once and didn't get disqualified.
Oh.
They got taken out by another boat and we ended up in the middle of the course. And I said, yes, we're going straight for the finish, so we did.
Go down the middle, once you've done the last one.
What was that?
So once you've done the last corner in a 2K,
Yes.
can you just go?
Yes, you can go into the middle of the
Yeah.
course. Yeah, you go up the middle. You don't have to follow behind another boat or stay outside the buoys. So once the turn's completed, you just can race again however you like. There's no, there's only still the 2 metre separation rule. And if there's no overlap, if red boat doesn't get overlap on the blue boat, then the blue boat can just follow the line of the buoys and the red boat has to stop. This is where you go, break, break, break. It's surprising how quickly that distance comes up from 50 metres up to the... I had this issue. This is perfect colours because that was me and that was Padletier's. And we just didn't quite get overlap and we had to stop. But the boat, we virtually had to stop the boat in order to avoid hitting them. So, yeah, be aware of that. The trailing boat must slow or stop. And quite often you're pushing really hard to try and get overlap. And then suddenly, you know, you're not allowed there. You've got to go. You've got to hold off. So, yeah, you're going to have to brake hard. You can go around the outside if there's enough room, but it means you're travelling a lot further. If the trailing boat did not have overlap, then the leading boat has right of way and they can just follow the line of the buoys around the corner. The trailing boat must give way. Overtaking on the right is allowed, but I did some, rough calculations. If you follow the line of the buoys, then you go a certain distance. If you're 5 metres out, because it's 5 times the radius, you end up going 15 metres further, and that's a boat length. So if you're outside those 5 metre buoys, you can end up travelling an extra boat length and lose a spot. The new rules allow for a turn corridor. There's a 5 metre line of buoys 5 metres out from the turning buoys. And if you go outside of those buoys, you lose any rights you had at the 50 metre mark. So it's important when you're sweeping to stay inside the second line of buoys. Otherwise you lose your rights. But we didn't actually have those at the Nationals, did we?
No, I don't think that.
Don't think we have much at National.
And once you go out, you can't come back into that zone unless it's all clear, there's no boats and stuff.
Yeah.
There's another boat there, he's got most of the way out.
So this is the question you asked. After the last turn, the boat may steer into the left of the lane buoys and paddle up the middle of the course. You can do that, and it's quite a good way to go because it's nice and calm in there. And you don't have to worry about interfering with other boats. Something to be aware of at the end of the turn. If you're coming up on the outside of the boat or you're just trailing behind and you get a little bit in front of their tail, you've got to remember that the tail comes out. That's the way you steer a dragon boat, the tail comes out. And I paddled in a race in China where the Aussies overtook us, and then I did this. Came in and the head of our boat hit their tail, pushed me way off course. Reckon we lost 2 places. Yeah, there's something to be aware of. And it's hard to see if you sweep. It's a long way. It's 13 metres from where the action is the front. So speed gets a drummer to look out for. So my last word before the test. Being a dragon boat sweep is fantastic fun. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
That was 2
2K racing.
It's just once you know those rules.
Once I know you better, I'll show you a video. There's a lot of swearing. Any questions, team?
Have you got the answers for the test?
The answers are straightforward. Now,
18's quite a lot.
I only prepared these at 5:45.
I hope that makes sense.
They're right.
50% right.
No, 90%.
Just check you've got questions 1 to 20 because they're on the double-sided. I'll leave them out because it's a bit messy.
This is where I leave you, so I have to do the test.
I'll get Rick to email it to you.
Yeah, I'll sort it. No worries.
Right, I'm just going to stop sharing and stop recording now.
Yeah, no
You can
worries.
say
I'll
what
leave
you
you
want
guys to
now.
it then. I'll leave you to it and carry on.
Okay.
And I'll go
Righto.
shower. Well, I'll see you next time or next week, whenever it is.
Okay.
Do you,
See you later.
do you cover for the